Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on the urban worm bag. Now this is going to be a very comprehensive update as we're going to do a partial harvest or full harvest from the bottom, and we're going to add some of that material back to the top, and some of it is actually just going to go right into my my big 55-gallon tote that I used to store all my castings. So it's been a while since I've harvested the system. In fact, I don't even know when the last time I harvested it was. It might have been around a year ago at this point. But it's probably very compact in the bottom. We need to really kind of air it out. And I also want to add some of that material to the top so I can get these bedding materials that are really dry on the top, get them kind of covered in castings, get that microbial growth, get the worms working through it. And then we're also going to moisten it. And of course, if there is a necessary, we're going to add food. And we probably will add a lot of food to this system because I really want to start getting it really churning and get those worms to start repopulating the system after not feeding them for a while as I was trying to get rid of fruit flies. It looks like that issue has been taken care of in this system. When I open it up, I might see one fly out, maybe two, but I'm not seeing like dozens and dozens fly out. So we're going to really get this system going. But the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start with harvesting it. So let's go and get underneath the system. And I'll have a camera up top so you can see how it kind of collapses in, because you do have to watch for that center collapsing down, and then all of a sudden you get all this bedding material as well. So let's go and start the harvest process. All right, so first off on the top here, here's our urban worm bag. We're just gonna open this up, and there's a couple reasons why we're doing this. Fruit fly right there trying to get in. Is so you can see how this collapses back down. First off, you can see right here it's starting to collapse. I also need to remove this little container from here because this little guy would be bad to have this collapse inward and drain all over my system. So we're gonna move that out of there. The rest of this, it's ready to set up. And now let's go underneath. All right, as you can see here underneath, we've got our black mortar tray. We've got our bag. Let me grab a glove here though too, just so I have one ready to go. I'm just gonna put it over here. Hopefully this is nice and clear. It's hard for me to tell where I am. And the next thing we wanna do is we wanna undo the zipper. Remember, this is the version 2 of the urban worm bag. So it's a little bit easier, I think, than the version 1. So first thing we're gonna do there is undo that. Just shake this out a little bit, and then we're going to fold this, and I found that this works really well over the back. Actually, I'm going to rotate this like this, I think, so that way that's sort of out of the way but still inside the system. I'm going to put on my gloves here, and as you can tell, it's a little moist down in here, which is fine. Just shake this out, but see this little tiny ball right here on the string, and what we're going to do is we're going to just open this up. We're going to open it up a little bit more here. There we go. So now we can open this up all the way, and on the bottom here it's going to be typically pretty moist on the bottom, and then it starts getting a little bit drier as you go up. But these first pieces right here, as you can see, actually this is, I mean, it's not too bad actually. I mean, it's really just flaking apart. You can see though now we are getting some unfinished things. This is a mango seed that's still in there. It's we can break it open actually. Hopefully this is all in camera. I can't see the screen right now, so hopefully everything that I'm showing is in camera, but you can see you can open it up. This will have to go back on top and go through again. We have a piece of avocado pit that I'll have to go through again. And that's what happens with some of these systems. You get some stuff in here that doesn't break down fully. Piece of stick it looks like, but that's okay. Overall, this looks pretty good, this material actually. I thought it was a little bit too moist, but it actually looks pretty decent. So now we're going to start digging up in here a little bit more. And you want to be careful. You don't want to dig straight up because you will have the center collapse down if you do that. So we're going to just slowly work away around. What I'm kind of doing is I'm reaching in and going around like this through around the sides. Now, this is something I do see in my systems every once in a while, and that is a piece of plastic. I have been trying to get rid of them, but they still end up in here. You know, it's in some sort of mail letter or something that I've got that, you know, had a piece of plastic in it that I didn't realize. So I will have to go through and try to get all those out. But those do end up in my system sometimes. I've been getting better and better about not putting them in here. But hey, it happens to the best of us. So I'm just going to keep digging around these sides here, emptying out more and more material. And you can see hopefully in the top it's starting to fall down a little bit. Great looking material though. Here's a piece that's a little bit dry, but not too bad. Not seeing any worms in here so far though, which is a good sign. That means that they've moved up into the higher parts of the system. Again though, I'm still seeing some of that plastic in here. As I said, I'm going to have to go through this probably and make sure that that doesn't make it into my yard. But now I'm just reaching around the outsides, trying to pull it in this some more piece of material. This right here, you can tell this is an outside chunk of the bin. It's pretty solid. There's pieces here that are a little bit dried out, but overall, really nice material that's coming out of here. Just need to get rid of those plastic pieces. I can't believe how much of them are in here. Thought I had sorted out my my stuff pretty well, but there are still a couple pieces of plastic, and you can tell this one right here, I mean, it's blue still. So, but well, as I said, we'll get those out. But right now we're just going to push all this to the side, make a little bit more space in here. And I also have the back side of this. All right, I've seen the first worms out of here. So these are our first worms. I see one here and one there. It's okay you're not going to be able to sort out all your worms. I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I tried my hardest to make sure that nothing would ever get sorted out and get put in my yard, and I realized that that's just not possible. I'm just breaking apart some of these big chunks here, making sure there's nothing in them. So overall, it's looking pretty good though. We're probably going to take out a little bit more here. Just trying to scrape these sides clean. The hardest ones are the ones that are towards you. Sometimes it's easier to get to the other side. All right, now we're starting to see some bedding material in here, and that means that it's time to stop. And I didn't think I'd have to take too much out, but I'm going to put that bedding material over here. Just make sure that there's not much else coming out here. So, you know, once we start getting the bedding material, you really want to stop, because you're going to have the center collapse down. And we got a good amount of material, not as much as I was hoping for. Maybe if I pushed from the sides, we'd be able to get a little bit more. I mean, here's another worm over here. I'm just trying to put some of the worms that I'm seeing back in the pile to go back in the system. But we got about I want to say maybe a quarter of this filled. So we're not taking out too much here. But again, actually, let me just see. From this side right here, coming this way, there's a lot right here that could probably fall out. And actually, nope, we're starting to get food now. So we're seeing avocado shell and avocado pit. Some more worms over here. So we're starting to get a little bit too much bedding now. Now it's time to close this back up and let the center fall in here. But it's time to close it back up now, zip it back up, and we're going to be done with this. As I said, I didn't think it was that bad, but I really wanted to harvest some from the bottom. I don't know how much fell from the top. You'll be able to see hopefully in the video. But it doesn't look like, to me, it doesn't look like it moved that much. But once we start moving it around, you'll see it'll collapse down into here. I mean, we have a huge section that's empty now. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to zip this back up. And this system, you got to make sure you put that string in there, so it doesn't get caught in your zipper. And look at that. Just going to zip this thing closed if I can. Now, by the way, when you're doing this, one thing I do recommend, and I did this before off camera, is I vacuum this area underneath, because I do get a lot of spiders underneath these bins, because that's where, you know, bugs are going to go, because there's a food source. So overall, this looks like a pretty decent harvest. We're going to add some of this back to the top. Not a whole lot, but just some of it. And actually, you know what? Let's take a look at this up top here. All right, let me just back off, and you can see right here we've got a good amount of this bin, you know, probably half a bin or so, and this is really actually pretty good. So we're going to probably add a little bit of this to the top, not a whole lot. We're definitely going to put the food in that's over on that side back in. Let me grab my gloves, and we'll start this process now of mixing this up and getting this bin going again. So this material is already very rich with microbes, and what we're going to do is, first off, I'm going to shift this off to the side. Sorry, it's going to block the light a little bit possibly while I'm doing this, but I need to have it kind of right here. Now, when I'm going to move this around, one thing that can happen, it didn't happen surprisingly this quickly. I wonder if it's because that coconut shell. Well, this is basically a big hole now. I mean, I can reach way down here. I can go all the way down to the bottom. That's one of the problems with doing this, is that the center section of these will collapse down. And all of a sudden you have this massive center section that is open. So you got to really make sure you kind of push some of that paper in there, so that way you don't have everything collapsing down in there. Now we happen to have this coconut shell in here. I'm just going to leave this in here. It is, I don't know if you can see in here, but it does have some mites in there, it looks like. A lot of red mites and some springtails, which is fine. I'm not one to get rid of the mites that I have. So overall, still have a lot of paper in here, and it's time to really start trying to get the worms working on this. You can see that they're over in this food section over here, which I didn't really harvest from all that much. This is where last time we added all the food. But look at this. You can see all these worms. working at this section over here. You can just see there's a ton of them working over here. They're really trying to get through this material over here. Let's just see, I just covered them all up. But you can see right here, I mean, you can see all of these worms right here. They're really working on this stuff, and it's great to see. We're gonna have to start trying to get them to maneuver through other parts of the system. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add food to this side. Again, we're gonna add a ton of food. We're adding lots of food. We're getting food galore to try to get these worms working. We're also gonna dig up this little corner right here. These corners can get compacted, as you can see. Actually, there's a corn cob in there as well. So this take a long time to break down in some of these systems. So we're gonna just mix this up a little bit here. Another corn cob. So we did harvest this material, but now what we're gonna do, we've got that coconut right over there. Actually, let me push a little bit more of this off to the side. We're gonna throw in a ton of food here. So I have one of my frozen containers of food. It's perfectly safe to throw these in frozen. And we've got just a mass variety of food in here. You can see lemons, clementines, banana peels, coffee grounds, some apple cores. As we get this out, you'll see even more bananas, mangoes, so a little bit of broccoli, some avocado. So this is just a variety of foods in here. We're gonna break this apart. Just pour in the little liquid that's in there. Put this back off to the side. And as I said, this is a big feeding. They're still working on the food in the other area, but that's okay. This is a big system, and there's plenty of worms in here. They'll move around, they'll multiply, but if they don't have the food to eat, they won't do that in these systems, I have found. So this avocado shell actually has quite a bit of avocado left in it. So, you know, we've got these coffee grounds in here, clementine peel, so this is a nice variety of food, mango seed. And then what we're gonna do here is, of course, we're gonna throw in some of our crushed crab and eggshell. And remember, this is something you probably would want to wear a mask if you're putting in this much, but it's pretty low, and it's a little bit damp. Wasn't quite as dry as I thought in my other system. Sorry, bumped the light. Now what we're gonna do is, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around to this side, and I'm gonna grab all these leftovers right here that are not broken down and had some worms in them too. And we're gonna throw them right on top here. Now the worms, they don't like the frozen stuff, so we'll throw them a little bit off to the side. But we're just throwing them in this system because, well, they should, you know, I don't want to just throw them in my other thing. Okay, so there we go. There's that. Now there's one other part to this, though, before we close all this away. Actually, you still can't see here. Let me move this. Okay. I don't have a shelf quite to the side. I'm just using my vermi bag. So now that that's like that, we're going to cover this up. We're going to cover it up very generously. And now what we're going to do is we're going to mix in some of this material that we just harvested. I know that there's some plastic in here. It'll go through the system again, and it'll just come out on the other side, but we're just going to put a bunch of this on top here. And the reason why is that this is going to help these microbes get into this bedding material. So we're going to cover up. And these urban worm bags, they're really good at holding in moisture, I feel. So I don't have to worry too much about all this moisture escaping and it just drying out into hardened rocks. But this will allow these microbes to just slowly seep into this bedding over here. And we're just putting it on one side for now. And that's because I don't want to dry it out too much. So I want a kind of a thick layer. I still have stuff that's harvested that'll go into my yard. But this way, there's definitely some stuff in here that will provide a nice microbial layer for these worms to go in. And actually, there's even a couple worms there that I might have missed when we're going through, which of course happens. And I was just sort of checking as I did this for the plastic. There's a piece right there. Try to get that out of here if I can. There's one piece of plastic right there. Another one. But, you know, this is it really for this update. So I'm going to let this sit here now for a while. We're going to let this, you know, let them move from this side over here back to this side. This is going to help contain the moisture a little bit better, especially as those fruits and vegetables start giving out more moisture. And it's gonna evaporate upward. It's gonna hit that top. It's gonna rebound, and it's gonna keep this nice and wet, just as it was soaking in over here. It's gonna do the same thing over here. The only difference is we now have these castings on top, which will provide microbial growth to the bedding underneath. and that'll keep this going. So the only thing I almost forgot, I do want to add this back in, my little fruit fly trap. I'm going to put that low in this corner over here. We're not adding any more food to this, or I'm not adding any water either at this time. We're just going to kind of let this go. It seems like it's okay as far as where the food is, and the worms are working their way around the system. So that's it for my update. As you can see, we still have quite a bit of stuff that was harvested from this system. This looks fairly composted, so this looks like it's ready to go in the yard. I will have to probably get out those pieces of plastic though. I don't like adding that to my yard. But that's it for this, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to you. And remember, these are my European night crawlers, and it looks like I just had a spider crawl into here too. Well, he can get trapped in there. He can have fun in the compost there. So, but that's my update. And as you can see, I've got another little one crawling on the top here. I get tons of little spiders all around here. That's why I also recommend vacuuming underneath here before you do any of this, so that way you're not just putting your hands through cobwebs. So, but that's my update. Thank you for watching.